Welcome to our video on SIP Trunking Termination, and today we're going to be covering the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, so if you're new to this technology, what SIP trunking is, in a nutshell, is a method of delivery of multiple applications, including voice, video, text, and other forms of media over the internet. But our focus today will be on SIP termination, which is basically voice calls generated from a desktop, computer, or mobile device over the internet instead of over traditional telephone lines and circuits. Now, there are virtually unlimited different kinds of applications, but here's a basic one for a single office with a handful of phones and a SIP phone system. The other end of the spectrum is, as in this example, you got a headquarters right here, branch offices, some smaller offices, and even employees working from home. Now on to the good. The good with SIP trunking termination is whether your calls are manually dialed or if you have a dialer, you can more easily make your organization appear to have a local presence anywhere in the U.S. or the world for that matter, with inexpensive numbers called DIDs for just about any market you want to do business in. In addition, you can get affordable U.S. toll-free numbers, ITF numbers anywhere in the world. That stands for International Toll-Free Services. The cost per SIP trunk, or concurrent call, is usually between 30 to 60% less than traditional phone line circuits, and especially long-distance charges. The other benefit is expanding your presence will increase your revenue and profits. Now, in this bill copy example, the DID usage here is on a PRI, and it averages out to about 3.7 cents a minute. And we typically see even higher from the large Ma Bells. But with SIP trunking, even the Tier 1 providers, you can expect to see 2.5 cents a minute, and lower for long distance, and with Tier 2 providers, below a penny a minute on up to about 2 cents a minute. And if you have high volumes of minutes and want to do least cost routing, which we'll cover in another video, then below 0.005 a minute is very achievable. Now the bad. The bad with SIP trunking termination is if you want to try and go at all on your own without much knowledge of how to get SIP trunking set up, or hire an inexperienced tech who also knows very little about SIP, it can be an ongoing headache because of many factors. And I'll list some of those here, such as one-way audio, trunks dropping, delay, jitter. And so really getting someone certified in SIP trunking or very experienced in installations is well worth the money because of the enormous payback. And since there are so many SIP PBX phones and dialers that all work well with SIP today, it's really up to you, the end user, to get someone qualified for the initial setup. Now, in a simple online search of bad SIP trunk installs, we see right here over 2 million results worldwide. So whatever the real number truly is, there have been many an install done incorrectly or gone wrong. Now on to the ugly. The ugly with SIP trunking termination is if you approach SIP trunking like traditional telecom, by putting all your eggs into one basket, things can get very ugly. And what I mean by that is, with the old ways of telecom, you usually had one telecom carrier provide all of your services, and rarely did many companies have any redundancy in place because of the costs involved in paying for redundant or dormant T1, PRI, or DS3 circuits. So if you use a startup SIP provider or one that has a few issues now and then, it's really best to have backup carriers. And since SIP trunking redundancy or failover carriers are far less or even no cost at all, it's very wise to have multiple SIP carriers for failover and redundancy. Now the same holds true for having a redundant ISP in case your internet were to ever go down for the same reasons. But if you have dedicated circuits which rarely go down, then an inexpensive broadband solution for the short time you might ever have an outage is very justifiable. Now the uptime with traditional telecom is what's known as 5 nines, But SIP is quickly catching up to legacy telecom circuits. And we're seeing SIP trunking carriers have SLAs as high as 4 nines of service, and many properly installed SIP solutions are seeing the same level of uptime. Well, that about sums up our video today. So if you would like to learn more about SIP trunking or would like help getting set up for SIP trunking, please watch our other videos, or you can contact us at our information here. Thanks for joining us today.